Welcome to the Solimi Dreams channel. Gently turn off the lights in your room, slip on your headphones or set the volume just right and close your eyes. I hope sleep finds you peacefully, perhaps even before the story comes to an end. So now, without delay, let me softly begin tonight's story. The Smiling Man. Every evening after work, Charlotte Hayes would walk home alone, clutching her bag tightly, heels clicking rhythmically against the cracked pavement. She lived just a few blocks from her downtown office, and although friends often warned her about the city streets at night, Charlotte always brushed aside their concern, confident she knew the neighborhood well enough to avoid trouble. But lately something had changed. Each night as she passed the corner of Monroe and Ashland, Charlotte saw him. A tall, gaunt figure standing beneath the pale glow of a flickering street lamp. He never moved, never spoke, merely stood there smiling broadly, unsettlingly. At first she dismissed him as harmless, just another odd character from the city's endless stream of night wanderers. Yet the persistent presence of this silent stranger increasingly disturbed her, invading her thoughts even during daylight hours. His smile haunted her dreams, wide, distorted, teeth gleaming unnaturally white, stretching across his thin face. Charlotte had never seen him blink or shift his gaze, those dark, hollow eyes always fixed upon her, following each step as she walked hurriedly past. Despite the instinctive terror that gripped her heart, whenever she approached that intersection, she convinced herself he was harmless, merely strange and socially unaware. But soon, Charlotte began noticing him in other places. First, near her office building, then across the street from her apartment, always smiling, always silently observing. She never saw him arrive or leave, never witnessed him engaging with anyone else. It felt as though he existed solely for her, a sinister presence lurking at the edges of her life. The tipping point came one cold, rainy evening as Charlotte hurried home beneath a tattered umbrella. Thunder rolled distantly, and icy wind sliced through her coat, heightening her anxiety. Her pulse quickened as she reached Monroe Street, knowing the smiling man awaited her. Yet this night he was nowhere in sight. Surprised relief washed over her momentarily, but quickly dissolved into suspicion. As she walked onward, her breathing shallow, something whispered softly behind her. Charlotte froze, her heart thundering in her ears. Slowly, fearfully, she glanced over her shoulder. He stood just yards away, illuminated by the soft, murky glow of the streetlight, drenched by the rain, yet still smiling broadly, grotesquely. His eyes, deeply shadowed, utterly black, met hers. Panic surged through Charlotte. Instinct took over, and she sprinted down the slick, deserted street, splashing through puddles, terrified to look back. Only upon reaching her apartment did she dare pause, slamming and locking the door securely behind her. Panting, she leaned heavily against it, trembling uncontrollably. Yet even within her sanctuary, she felt watched. Peering nervously through the curtains, her stomach churned violently as she saw him standing across the street, illuminated by lamplight, staring upward, directly toward her window, his haunting smile unwavering. From that moment, Charlotte's life spiraled rapidly into paranoia. Each night brought terror-filled dreams, vivid images of the smiling man creeping ever closer, teeth gleaming, reaching for her with impossibly long, skeletal fingers. She found herself constantly looking over her shoulder, glancing nervously at every shadowed corner, terrified he'd appear anywhere, everywhere. Seeking relief, Charlotte tried varying her routes, changing her schedule, even taking taxis home. Yet, no matter what she did, he appeared. Always smiling, always watching. Friends and co-workers noticed her deterioration, her sunken eyes, pale skin, jumpy demeanor, and expressed deep concern. Charlotte refused their offers of help, certain they'd label her delusional if she explained the smiling man. One evening, exhausted and desperate, Charlotte decided to confront him directly, determined to reclaim control over her life. Armed only with pepper spray and trembling courage, she approached Monroe and Ashland with deliberate steps. He stood beneath the flickering light as always, seemingly expecting her. Charlotte stopped several feet away, heart pounding painfully, anger momentarily overpowering fear. "Who are you?" she demanded shakily, voice quivering despite her effort at bravery. "What do you want from me?" His smile widened slightly, grotesquely stretching even further. He didn't answer, didn't move, his eyes fixed unblinkingly upon her. Charlotte's nerve faltered. Tears welled in her eyes, panic rising uncontrollably. "Please," she whispered desperately, "leave me alone." Without a word, the man slowly raised one pale skeletal finger, pointing directly at her. Charlotte recoiled in horror, stumbling backward, then turned and fled blindly through the dark streets, sobbing uncontrollably, convinced that nothing could save her. Days turned into weeks. Charlotte isolated herself completely, rarely leaving her apartment, haunted by hallucinations of his sinister grin in mirrors, windows, even in her dreams. Friends stopped calling. Her job eventually terminated her contract after she failed to appear for several days. Her life unraveled rapidly into chaos and madness. One sleepless night, curled in bed, eyes wide open in fearful anticipation, Charlotte felt a chilling draft sweep through her bedroom. Her heart froze instantly. Turning slowly, she saw him standing silently in the shadows near her closet, impossibly present, that ghastly smile illuminated faintly by moonlight seeping through blinds. Frozen by terror, she was unable to scream or move. He stepped forward soundlessly, towering beside her bed, eyes locked onto hers, his smile unchanging. Charlotte trembled violently, tears streaming silently down her cheeks, desperately willing herself awake, praying this was another nightmare. But the smiling man leaned closer, his presence freezing her breath, his voice a whisper as harsh as dry leaves rustling in autumn winds. "Charlotte," he murmured softly, chillingly intimate. "I've waited a long, long time for you." Her consciousness faded into darkness, overwhelmed by his shadow. When Charlotte awoke, sunlight streamed through curtains gently, birds singing cheerfully outside her window. Momentarily, she thought it had all been a horrifying nightmare, until she glimpsed her reflection in the mirror across the room. Her blood turned icy. There, upon her lips, stretched a smile, unnaturally wide, twisted into the same sinister grin she'd come to dread. Her eyes were hollow, emotionless, cold as his had been. Charlotte clawed desperately at her face, crying out in agony. But her smile refused to fade, frozen permanently into place. Days became indistinguishable. Charlotte withdrew completely into her apartment, broken and isolated, a prisoner of her own cursed visage. One evening, as twilight settled over the city, an inexplicable compulsion forced her outside. Compelled by something beyond herself, she wandered slowly toward Monroe and Ashland, standing beneath the flickering streetlight where her nightmare began. Passers-by hurried past her nervously, casting frightened glances toward her frozen, disturbing smile, unsettled by her silent presence. As Charlotte watched them, she felt strangely detached, merely an observer, no longer herself, becoming something else entirely. Just another shadow lurking at the edge of people's lives. Soon Charlotte saw a young woman approaching nervously, eyes downcast, walking swiftly. Charlotte felt an unnatural instinct overwhelm her, drawing her gaze sharply toward the woman, her frozen smile somehow stretching even wider. The woman glanced up, briefly meeting Charlotte's hollow eyes. Fear flashed across her face. She hurried past quickly, heart pounding audibly in her chest. Charlotte silently turned to follow, her presence unnoticed, shadowing the frightened woman back to her apartment building. Standing across the street, hidden by darkness, Charlotte stared upward toward the woman's window, feeling the twisted thrill of anticipation rising within her. She understood now. She had become what once haunted her, a cycle endlessly repeating, a curse perpetuated through time, passed from victim to victim, born in fear, shaped in madness. Charlotte felt herself fading slowly into the shadows, becoming part of the night itself, waiting patiently, eternally smiling for the moment when she could claim another soul and pass her torment onward. And there, beneath the flickering street lamp on Monroe and Ashland, Charlotte stood, forever smiling hauntingly, awaiting the next frightened soul who would soon share her endless nightmare. I hope you've already drifted off into a peaceful sleep. If not, I truly hope the upcoming stories on my channel will help you get there. If you enjoyed this one, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I'd be so happy if you liked and shared this video with your friends. It means a lot and gives me the encouragement to keep creating more stories like this.